We are explaining an important fact to both officials and our friends. Since his youth and even his childhood, our master has exhibited independence from people and self-reliance so as to preserve the dignity of learning. He has never accepted zakat or charity, nor has he accepted gifts, as is explained in the second letter. In His mercy, Almighty God has transformed this principle of his into an illness so that he may continue to practice it in his old age and weakness. That is to say, an unreciprocated mouthful even immediately makes him ill. He cannot eat it. In his youth, our master was not so needy. When he lived alone, he had very few expenses. But now, he provides the substance of many of his students, and he suffers from various illnesses, so Almighty God makes him ill from unreciprocated presents to preserve that principle of his. Similarly, being held in high esteem resembles a non-material gift for our master, so he shrinks from the people's veneration and from having his hand kissed. As testified to in his biography and in the 26th flash for the elderly, in his youth exceptionally to his peers, he went into seclusion in the township of Tillo near Siirt. When a madrasa student, he withdrew to the tomb of Ahmed Hani in the province of Ağrı. While a prisoner of war in Russia, he retreated into Seltut in a tiny, unfrequented mosque of the Tatars near the camp, although 90 or so of his fellow prisoner officers used to attend his religious homilies willingly. While enjoying a glittering social life as a member of the Darul Hikmet al-Islamiyya, he chose to withdraw into solitude on Mount Yusha. On returning to one, he rejected an enjoyable life among his numerous students, old and new, and retired to a cave on Mount Erek. And finally, these past 30 years, when sent to various prisons as a result of appalling injustices, he never complained when he was held in solitary confinement for 20 months or throughout his imprisonment, despite the legal limit for such confinement being a fortnight. All the evidence show that the desire for solitude has always one of his dominant innate characteristics. But, so that this should persist in his old age when he is in much need of assistance, help, and conversation, he has been given a sort of illness. If he speaks for 5 minutes even, he is overcome by intense thirst and can emit no sound. In fact, since he follows the Shafi school, he should recite the Fatiha in the prayers loudly enough for himself to hear, but because he cannot emit any sound, he has to perform them following the Hanafi school. He has 2 reports from 2 leading doctors concerning this illness. They may be shown if required. We have formed the opinion that now, when the Risale-i Nur is making unprecedented conquests and is being very favorably received by the Islamic world, and enemies even are becoming friends, our master's unsociableness, that is, his retreating from society and his inability to speak and emit sounds, and his feeling as though he has received a blow if his hand is kissed, is a divine visitation in order to preserve the maximum sincerity of the Risale-i Nur, which means not making it the tool of anything other than divine pleasure, be it the ranks and stations of either this world or the next. In fact, our master even forgave the person who divulged his indispositions. Footnote: we asked our master why he does not meet with people now that the Risale-i Nur is spreading so splendidly and his enemies have been defeated and are showing themselves to be friendly. He replied, "Those people who want to meet with me are either opponents or friends. If they are friends, the hundreds of thousands of copies of the Risale-i Nur speak with them fully in my place and leave no need for me at all. If those people who want to meet me are hostile, numerous courts of law and experts' committees these past 30 years have found nothing incriminating in the Risale-i Nur or among the Nur students despite their investigating them closely. The fact that 24 trials have concluded that the Risale-i Nur contains nothing reprehensible, and 4 courts have ruled for its acquittal, and on these rulings being finalized, all its books and letters have been returned to their owners, all reply in my place to all those who are object to and oppose us. No need remains for me. If any of them want to meet with me personally, all the Nur students are the defense lawyers in one sense of this wretched Said, or seeing that I have lawyers in Ankara and Istanbul, they may see them. His students who are assisting him in essential tasks due to his severe illness and the infirmities of old age. In his name be he glorified. Our master said the following: the newspaper Cumhuriyet, which opposes us, completely misreported my defense speech and distorted the meaning, including such nonsensical sentences as to save 10 innocent people from darkness because of one criminal, instead of so that no harm should come to 10 innocent people due to one criminal. Moreover, although the answer I wrote was stated exactly 5 or 6 years ago in the Istanbul Second Magistrate's Court, and was part of my defense which earned an acquittal in the matter which holds most importance for me, a month or 2 ago during my trip to Istanbul, completely meaninglessly and maliciously, and in order to provoke a storm in a teacup, a public prosecutor handed over the case to the Sparta public prosecutor and officially sent 2 policemen to take my statement. I told them that the matter had been replied to 5 years previously and that my reply was still the same. They accepted this and had it written by typewriter, and they sent it to the wretch. Now, someone else has evidently again meaninglessly given it to a kaymakam a long way off from us. Then the calumniating newspaper wanted to raise suspicions among some weak Nur students by saying that the kaymakam gave it to the public prosecutor. The Risale-i Nur's many lawyers must write refutations of this article. There are 4 reports from the Istanbul health authorities about the matter involved. I had not condescended to show them to anyone since it was unimportant, and it is still unnecessary. Said Nursi. Postscript. I send many greetings to the 2 police chiefs in Ankara. They should attach no importance to such matters. In his name be he glorified. Peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings forever and ever. My dear loyal brothers, firstly, our Master sends congratulations to you for the night of acquittal and many greetings, and he prays for you. Footnote. This letter is also a reply to our brothers who sent congratulations to our Master by either telegraph or letter for the night of acquittal. Secondly, according to what is written in the letter we received yesterday from Diyarbakir, around 200 Nur study centers have been opened in the east, including the region of Diyarbakir. There are also 4 or 5 study centers just for women. God willing, this augurs well. The Nur schools, which our Master spoke of 10 years ago, explaining their extensive advantages, are now being realized. At that time, he said, now, as a result of official permission to open private institutions for religious instruction, the Nur students should open little Nur schools as far as they can. It is true that everyone may benefit themselves, though not everyone will understand every matter fully, but because they are explanations of the truths of belief, they are both learning and knowledge of God and worship, and they yield a sense of the divine presence. God willing, the Nur schools will secure in 5 to 10 weeks the results the old madrasas secured in 5 or 10 years, and so it has been doing for the last 20 years. Our Master has dedicated to the Risale-i Nur, as a Nur school, the house he lived in for 9 years in Barla. This was the first Nur school and the seat of the Madrasatul Zehra, which extends over 6 provinces. And now, following this, Nur study centers are being opened in both Sparta and surrounding towns and villages, and in Diyarbakir and the east. The Risale-i Nur being read in this way in such places gains for those who persist in doing this, and those who study in the honor of being students of the religious sciences, talebe-i ulum. Some authoritative scholars have stated that the actions of such students and even their sleep may be counted as worship. Thirdly, the fact that the first radio broadcasts of the Risale-i Nur to Anatolia and the Islamic world coincided with the night of acquittal is a sign, an indication presaging great good for this country and the Islamic world, favoring the Risale-i Nur. The enduring one, he is the enduring one, your brothers, Tahiri, Zübeyir, Sungur, Ceylan, Bayram. In his name be he glorified. I am proclaiming this last will and testament to all my friends and my Nur brothers. Regarding myself, I no longer have the strength to fulfill the duties of the Risale-i Nur, and perhaps no need remains for me to do so. It is as though I can no longer endure to remain alive due to the many times I have been poisoned and the infirmity of old age and other ailments. Even if death, for which I so yearn, does not befall me, I am writing this will as though I have died to utter life. Endless thanks be to the most compassionate and merciful Creator that when studying 60 to 70 years ago, contrary to custom, the old Sayyid did not seek the charity of others, particularly when engaged in acquiring the sciences of belief, and despite his utter penury. During his childhood and youth, he tried to provide the subsistence of 20 to 30 of his students so that they should not be obliged to earn money by selling their knowledge and learning. Just as they succeeded in doing this at that time through practicing frugality and contentment, so too, all thanks be to the most merciful of the merciful, the Risale-i Nur has begun to produce through its publication the substance of its true students. 1/5 of the profits of its copies that are sold is the right of the Risale-i Nur itself. This is just sufficient for its select students, especially those who are unable to meet their own needs. It now yields sufficient capital for 50 to 60 students. I, this wretched Said, have no right to be counted as one of them. It was only the Risale-i Nur's own value and the complete loyalty of the students' collective personality that gave rise to this festival of the Risale-i Nur. I am now appointing as my absolute deputies 4 or 5 of the students who are with me and nearest to me and serve my person and know to an extent my practices and have seen how I act, but this is not to say that they are superior to the other students. If I die or am alive but unconscious, they know my way of doing things and should carry out the Risale-i Nur's work to the letter. For now, I am appointing Tahiri, Sungur, Ceylan, Hüsnü, and 1 or 2 others as my absolute deputies. The capital accruing from the sale of copies of the Risale-i Nur belongs to the Risale-i Nur. Said is also a servant of it and may receive his substance from it. Recently, death has seemed very near to me. The last 2 or 3 years, I intended to firmly to provide the substance of 50 to 60 students in 6 provinces out of the Risale-i Nur's capital, but I gave this up thinking that perhaps certain obstacles would cause some of them to give up performing the services incumbent on the students. Now, however, I have written my will. Said Nursi. Footnote. With the phrase Ta'ishu Sa'idun, prosperous livelihood, in a section of the predictions the Gawsul Azam, Sheikh Geylani, may God be pleased with him, alluded to the Risale-i Nur and its author. He foretold that our Master would live comfortably and happily as regards his livelihood. We nevertheless observed that his poverty and independence were apparently contrary to this. This prediction of the gods is now to be seen in our Master's life, in fact, for as a child of 10 he would not eat his uncle's soup to avoid becoming obliged to him, and then he himself would provide the livelihoods of the students he taught, and now, in just the same way, he is again providing for 50 to 60 of his students. All this shows that the prediction has been realized fully. Tahiri, Sungur, Ceylan. In his name be he glorified. My dear, loyal brothers, thinking that since the appointed hour is not now, it could occur any time, this will and testament, which confirms the one I wrote previously, was imparted to me due to a severe internal illness I am suffering. So I declare this. On the one hand, the capital being held in Eskişehir, footnote, 10,000 liras, is for printing photographically our miraculous Qur'an which shows the coincidences, and on the other is the Risale-i Nur's capital which I hold in trust. Endless thanks be to the most merciful of the merciful that as a divine bounty and bestowal 70 or so years ago I provided the substance of my students despite my own impecuniousness and contrarily to the customs of those times. And now, 50 to 60 years later, as a result of the divine bestowal of those times, the capital I hold is for the substance of the sincere students of the Madrasat Zahra who are unable to provide their own livelihoods. This capital will be spent on their substance. I adjure my spiritual sons and my heirs to carry this out exactly as I have these past few years. If, God willing, the Risale-i Nur starts to spread further, the capital will be sufficient for devoted students far exceeding the numbers of students who now have dedicated themselves to the Risale-i Nur schools and Madrasat Zahras will open in many places. I request my spiritual sons and my select, self-sacrificing assistants and my heroic brothers who have dedicated themselves to the Risale-i Nur and are known by everyone that they assist in implementing this last will and testament in my place. Since, with regard to the Risale-i Nur, no need remains for me to depart for the intermediate realm is a cause of joy for me. You should not feel sad. You should rather congratulate me, for I am going from troubles to mercy. The grievously sick, Said Nursi. Footnote. Yes, we bear witness to this last will and testament of our Master. Çalışkan from Emirdağ, Mustafa Acet, Hüsnü from Safranbolu, Zübeyir from Ermenek, Bayram from Çol. In his name be he glorified. Our esteemed brother Tahsin Bey, we congratulate you on the night of power and wish you success. Our Master sends you his particular greetings. He said, the biography that Tahsin published has been as useful as 20 large collections and has made that many conquests. He should in no way worry about their now bothering him a little. Their doing this has attracted attention to the biography and been effective advertising. Just as the 20 large collections have made great conquests these last 20 years by spreading underground, so, God willing, the biography will produce similar results by spreading unobtrusively. Secondly, Almighty God graciously placed you in Ankara to be the commander-in-chief of the Risale-i Nur there, and now you have been granted the publication of the Qur'anic commentary İşaret-ül-İcaz, Science of Miraculousness, from the Risale-i Nur, which elucidates one of the 40 aspects of the Qur'an's miraculous immutability, its composition and ordering. There are 7 sorts of this latter aspect, one of which is the coincidences. And one sort of these are the clear coincidences in the name Allah. Our miraculous Qur'an shows these latter coincidences. God willing, it will fall to you also to print and publish it. Previously, our Master sent you 10,000 liras. Now, he is sending 6,666 liras, which is exactly the equivalent of the Qur'an's verses and is the amount remaining from 2 years of the student's substance. There is a great mystery in this, which is blessed like money of gold. It should not be spent on anything else. We are sending this together with a number of sections of the Qur'an and our greetings. The Enduring One, He is the Enduring One, your brothers, Tahiri, Zübeyir, Ceylan, Sungur. In His name be He glorified. One of the main reasons I have come to Ankara this time is to see Namık Gedik, the interior minister, who is a serious supporter of Islam, and to say the following to the hero of Islam, Adnan Bey, and prominent persons like Tevfik İleri. In order to greatly strengthen the Democrats, as did the Arabic call to prayer, and to win support for them as it permitting the Risale-i Nur's publication, and to please the Islamic world, and even some Christian states, it is to cleanse Hagia Sophia of extraneous matters and make it suitable for worship. It was just for the sake of this question that I wanted to see Namık Gedik, although I have given up politics for 30 years, so I came. For the sakes of Adnan Bey, Namık Gedik, and Tevfik İleri, I did not go elsewhere. Moreover, just as in accordance with a fundamental law of the Qur'an, the Risale-i Nur has silenced communism with its 500,000 copies, so too, evidence that it has ensured public peace and security in Anatolia and the eastern provinces is this: 10 years or so ago, the Afyon public prosecutor said, he has got 600,000 devoted students and has published 500,000 copies of the Risale-i Nur. Perhaps he will disturb public order. So Said replied to him, it's true he has got 600,000 devoted students, and these last 15 years they have been persecuted mercilessly, but neither the police nor the courts have discovered any such incident. I also said, public prosecutor, if the Risale-i Nur has not assisted in maintaining public order as much as 1,000 public prosecutors and 1,000 police chiefs, may God damn me. You can give me any penalty you wish. He could find nothing to say in reply to this. Only a year or two after this, a young student of the Risale-i Nur was going to commit suicide because he imagined that harm would come to the Risale-i Nur because of him. But his master prevented him, and a very minor incident occurred, but the two were reconciled. Whereas, if a master has 10 devoted students, then one of them greets someone and receives a blow in return, and another kisses someone's hand and is then treated with contempt, they all remain silent so as not to create a disturbance. For they had heard from Said, if I had 1,000 lives, I would sacrifice them all to maintain public order and security. Therefore, in accordance with the fundamental law, no bearer of burdens can bear the burden of another, so that no harm should come to 90 innocents due to 5 criminals, and in order not to treat unjustly 10 innocent children and parents because of 1 criminal, the Risale-i Nur ensures public order with the services it performs for the cause of belief and lodges a prohibitor in everyone's hearts against wrongdoing. The biography proves that if I had 1,000 lives, I would sacrifice all of them for this fundamental law of the Qur'an, and it is there for all to see. And courts of law have also concurred with this. He even looks on public demonstration of oneself as hypocrisy, self-advertisement, and egotism, and so has given up meeting with the people, and through the grace of divine mercy, he has lost his voice too, so that he is not obliged to meet with his friends, and they are not offended. Said Nursi. In his name be he glorified. Peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings forever and ever. A letter arrived for our extremely ill master from a high-ranking official. It says that some leading members of the former party, Republican People's Party, who did not want his biography to be published, made some large concessions and drove some of its officials to make the mistake. So, our master said, the main parts of the biography have been published 3 times by Sabilur Reshad and 4 times over the past 30 to 40 years in both the old letters and the new. And recently, 1 or 2 religious scholars have sent several appreciative letters from abroad, from such places as Medina, by way of elucidation and thanks. In which case, the courts can in no way interfere officially. Secondly, the Risale-i Nur has on its own spread in the Islamic world in wondrous fashion despite all the politicians' harassment, so now that there are millions of people disseminating it, let alone the former party, if the whole world were to gather together, it could do nothing to stop it. It is quite impossible. It would be more like an advertisement. The Nur students need not worry. Thirdly, on the one hand, I have forgiven the former party all its unjust persecution of me. On the other, in accordance with the verse, no bearer of burdens can bear the burden of another, that is, no person or his party or relatives is answerable for another's errors. The Risale-i Nur has spread both in Anatolia and in the eastern provinces and has performed effective services for public order and security. Like a non-physical, moral police force, it leaves a prohibitor in everyone's heart. It has not blamed the errors of 5 men on 95, so has not aggravated them 20 or 30 times. Most of the former party's followers should therefore be as grateful to the Risale-i Nur as the party in power. For if it had not taught that lesson from the above fundamental Qur'anic principle, the errors of the 5 men would have been attributed to thousands. Fourthly, it is now quite certain that the Risale-i Nur is a lesson proceeding from the all-wise Qur'an's miraculousness that will protect this nation and the world of Islam against the absolute disbelief that assaults from outside, for no atheistic philosopher has found any means of opposing it. We have received certain news that in some places abroad, 1 million youths are saying that general peace may be secured by the Risale-i Nur. We have heard too that they have started to translate the Risale-i Nur in some countries that are seeking universal peace, such as Germany and America. Fifthly, if officials misinterpret some of the new laws and object to 1 or 2 lines from the Risale-i Nur, say in my place, should 20,000 neighbors be punished and cast into prison because of 1 man's fault? Is there any law in the world that demands it? So, if 1 line of a 500-page book with 20 lines on every page deals someone a hard blow, but there is no specific name and nothing prosecutable, and even supposing there was, the line would be deleted as with the censor. So, to seize the book is illegal and an injustice unheard of in the world, like sending 10,000 people to prison. Moreover, seeing that the other 20,000 lines have strengthened the belief of 20,000 people, it surely absolves the error and causes it to be forgiven. I would have spoken more if I had not been so extremely ill. You, my assistants, must correct and amend it. Even if you deem it appropriate, while more than anyone the police should be in favor of the Risale-i Nur's lessons, which strengthened them considerably in their duties of securing the peace, my spirit is not easy at giving them to those policemen who are acting as official detectives, which is contrary to their profession. But tell them that I forgive all of them. Sixthly, while expecting some means of venerating the 3 months on the night of Ascension, the search on account of the biography caused me intense sadness and grief. In accordance with the Hadith, almsgiving repulses calamities. The Risale-i Nur has become like almsgiving that repulses calamities from Anatolia, and when it is acquitted and given its freedom, calamities are repulsed, but when it is attacked, calamities descend. There are 100 events showing this. Sometimes it is shown with earthquakes and storms, and this time a cold spell I had never before witnessed with temperatures of nearly -18 coincided with assaults and the searches. Our master is so ill, he could not speak anymore. He told his assistants, "Send this to some friends and some officials for their information so that they do not worry." Our very ill master's servant, "Yes, what my assistant has written is right." Said Nursi.